This is the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast.
Oh no! We suck again!
I'm getting confused. What game are you calling?
I'm calling both games.
It is caught by Kelsey! Touchdown! Kansas City!
Anthony for three. Bang!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ruckus and The Menace Podcast. The Sports Podcast, episode number 53. And today, and whenever you listen to this, we are doing our starting lineup, which is going to consist of the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, our MLB Player of the Month, the Mexico series, some other news as well for both the NBA and the MLB, and then our usual good, bad, and ugly. The high heat, which will consist of our recap of the NFL draft, even though it has been a couple weeks. And then our color commentary is going to be consisting of our big deal, little deal, and nothing burger. And then for our primetime game, we'll be doing NFL Name That Draft Bust, and it'll be Mind Meld. And then we'll finish up with our stud and dud. Spennis, how have you been?
I love how you've gone through this entire thing without introducing me until just now. Yeah, that happened. But it's been a pretty good busy 2 weeks, but certainly a very good. It's been a busy 2 weeks, but it's been a good 2 weeks. I mean, my birthday was the first part of last week, and then my computer decided that I had been doing the podcast on, decided to go and die on me. So I am now into improvisation mode until I eventually save up and upgrade, which has involved me scrounging for a Chromebook to make sure I see the dock and all that. But have watched Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, Guardians 3. Been keeping up with movies, TV with Ted Lasso and All American, and playing MLB The Show, and I'm in like the first parts of Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
How are you liking it so far?
So far, I'm liking the interesting concept. It's a Souls-like, but it is not as harsh as From Software's content.
Yeah,
Not as harsh. But it is a very good game.
yeah. So obviously I didn't introduce you that greatly, and I apologize. Spennis, welcome to the show. It's been a weird day today. It's been busy at work, and also we were just trying to fix some technical issues, so that kind of threw me off as far as the usual. But it's just been a weird a week or so. Work was busy and hectic, and really all I can add for myself is I've been playing a lot of MLB The Show still. I got through the Charisma, I guess challenge you could say, or moment, or whatever.
Yeah, I have not completed that program yet. I am still in the early stages of that program. I'm almost through the Tops Now stuff. But I have completed my program. I have completed my season 1 program, and I'm probably going to be using a lot more of my season 2 time that I'm going to be starting out this weekend in probably grinding out and finishing out April Tops Now and the other series that I have not completed, which will include the Mexico City series, the Charisma series, and maybe, just maybe, finally get my hands in starting an MTO.
Yeah. I I found that the Luis Castillo card is kind of like annoying, like, but maybe that's because I'm just not used to pitching in veteran difficulty. But man, like the first time I ever used him, he gave up like 4 runs, and I was just like, crap. But yeah, I've been mainly just trying to grind through all the monthly stuff because that just came out, which the monthly player for the month of April on LB the Show is Matt Chapman, but then there's also others that are featured in that as well. Um, but yeah, I've been playing LB the Show, and then I just beat Resident Evil 4 remake about a week ago. So and when I mean beat it, I mean I beat the main story. I did not complete all the challenges. There's a big difference, I guess, in the gaming community between completing a game with meaning completing everything, and then there's the people that just beat the main story. But anyways, I beat that, so now I'm going for The Last of Us Part 1 whenever I feel like playing that. And I played like an hour of it last night, and it was pretty good. I got the hunting rifle. That's as far as spoiler free as I'm gonna go on that.
You're well. Last of Us Part One has been out for almost 10 years. You basically are not spoiling anything.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, so I've been playing The Last of Us, MLB The Show. I watched Guardians of the Galaxy 3 with my family on Friday, so it's here's what I'm gonna say about Guardians 3. This is a spoiler-free review. Don't take your kids to see it. It's a much darker version of the Guardians than what you have seen the past 2 volumes.
You're talking Guardians 3? I mean,
Yeah,
it is a much more emotionally heavy, and they detailed the backstory of a character who we've kind of maybe not known the backstory of, but I had some moments where I was laughing. There was a part where Drax about had me crying, crying of laughter.
dude, he was amazing in the ride too, cause like he would always be like saying like, "Oh, I need to get a snack," and then he would get some chips, and then during the ride, whenever you do like the starting part, he would be snacking on chips, and it was the funniest thing ever.
Drax is like there's something. It's weird how they have made Dave Bautista in this, where his character is supposed to be so serious, but yet he's so serious that he is hilarious at the same time.
Yep, it's kind of like
That
Sheldon Cooper on Big Bang Theory in a sense.
I don't.
I
I
don't know if
think
that would really be the same though.
Jim Parsons and Dave Bautista definitely. That's a little more apples to oranges.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as other movies I have seen, Guardians 3, as far as the comedy is, it's really good. They
It's
did a good
spot
job
on.
on that.
It's spot on for what a Guardians movie is supposed to be.
Yeah. All I'm saying is Guardians 3 is a little bit darker, so maybe the younger audience might not take it as well as someone our age or someone like
Well,
in.
I would say the handling of how a backstory was told.
Yeah. They did a
The
really good
other
job though. It felt like it felt near the end it felt very emotional, but anyways, I'm not going to go farther than that.
And then, did you get to watch Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves?
No, I haven't taken the time to watch it or go to the theater.
That one's good. That one's good. It's Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, and of course the main villain is, although the main villain is played by somebody else, the puppet of the main villain, Hugh Grant.
Okay.
So it actually was a very surprisingly good and surprisingly funny. Like, there were some pretty like witty parts in it. I think the next movie to eventually see is, I think for me I'm waiting for Air to finally hit Rare Breed and actually watch it. But also Fast 10 comes out in about 2 weeks.
I am waiting for John Wick 4 to finally come out on streaming services. That and Creed 3. I don't know if Creed 3 is just hiding on HBO Max somewhere.
Creed 3 has at least hit ours with Rare Breed. Creed 3's hit ours. I watched it in theater before the wedding. And it's good.
Yeah, I really want to see John Wick 4. I just haven't really... Well, I could take the time out of my after work day to watch it, but I'm just like, I'll just wait for it to come on streaming services because...
And I also watched the Super Mario Brothers movie as well, which was surprisingly impressive.
I heard some mixed reviews, but I also listened to Angry Joe's review about it like a couple days ago because I was curious to see why he was angry about it.
Probably because they done messed it. According to him, they done messed it up.
I mean, he'll find ways. My favorite Angry Joe review is the one for Back 4 Blood, the Left 4 Dead game. Whenever they won't let you take out the attachments off the guns, and like they made a skit about how one of the guys was like, "Hey guys, I super glued the attachments to the guns," and then Angry Joe was like, "Are you kidding me? Why would you do that? That's the stupidest concept ever."
Yeah, that is a dumb concept. Come to think of it.
All right, are we ready for the starting lineup?
Yep, let's get right to what we do best, getting right into the sport. And we're actually gonna kick it off with the players of the month for MLB. I'll let you go ahead and fly off the list while I work on the next segment or the next piece.
Well, it looks like for the MLB monthly award winners, you have Matt Chapman and Ronald Acuna Jr. And then your pitchers of the month, you have Garrett Cole of the New York Yankees and Clayton Kershaw of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And then as far as the rookies, you've got Josh Jung of the Texas Rangers, and then you have James Outman of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And then the reliever of the month for the AL is Felix Bautista. And the reliever of the month for the National League is Josh Hader of the San Diego Padres. By the way, Matt Chapman plays for the Blue Jays. I forgot to mention that at the top. And then Acuna plays for the Braves.
And the Lightning Award for the MLB The Show was Matt Chapman.
Yep. And then the other overall players, hold on.
I'll tell you what, for the players of the month for MLB The Show, the Orioles got represented well. And it's quite nice to see the Orioles get represented well in some of these.
Yep. And then Brent Rooker was also one of those people. He was a 98 monthly award program card, as well as Zach Gallen of the Diamondbacks, and then Luis Ariz of the Marlins, and Jose Alvarado of the Phillies. And then, as far as the Orioles, you had Yennier Cano, I believe. Is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah.
And then Jorge Mateo, the shortstop for the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, Jorge Mateo. Yep. I almost was thinking you were about to say Jorge Polanco, but I was like, no, he's a twin. But Jorge Mateo is the speedy shortstop for the Orioles.
Yep, and then the double XP for those listening that play MLB The Show. You can earn
Goes
double
on
XP.
till the end of the program.
So it runs until Friday, May 12th, around 12 p.m. Pacific time.
Which would be, if you're on the East Coast, that's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh man, that's when I get off work. I don't know.
No, you'd be at 2 o'clock. You'd be at 2 o'clock on the.
Oh, even worse. I'd be an hour before my shift ends. Oh well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways,
but it's not like you haven't already completed the program anyway.
I just want to get more of that double XP, bro. Maybe I need to drink some more. Maybe I need to get some Mountain Dew at the store or something and get that double XP like back in the day.
Yep.
The game fuel.
And then in other baseball news, condolences to the family of Vida Blue. I'm sure you may or may not be familiar with this name, but
The reliever closer.
I think he was more so a starter, but it was around the time of the 1970s Oakland Athletics, where they had Catfish Hunter and the A's. Back when the A's were definitely at their most prominent in the 70s, was when Vida Blue was playing.
I just knew he was a very important pitcher.
A left-handed pitcher, yep.
And then as far as baseball goes, a couple weeks ago, the Mexico series between the Padres and Giants was good. The first game that I watched, whenever I was putting this up on the notes for our pod, the first game they had almost felt like a World Series game, like in I don't know if you could say 2017, when it was Jock Peterson and the Dodgers versus the Astros with Correa and company, whenever they were all hitting home runs back and forth at Minute Maid Park. That was crazy. It reminded me of that, but with the Padres and Giants, it was literally like every other inning they were like hitting dingers off each other, or like just doing like, or just keeping the line moving in general. It was insane. And
what stadium were they playing that in? It wasn't Azteca, because that's a football/soccer stadium.
Give me a sec. It says that they played in Mexico City in Alfredo Harp Helú Stadium.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. I believe the elevation at Mexico City.
It says Estadio Alfredo Harp Helú is the home baseball stadium of the Red Devils of Mexico in Mexico City, inaugurated in March 2019 with capacity of 20,576 seats. It became the first stadium built in the city in the last 50 years. Does it say?
But here's where I'm at saying with this. But the elevation primarily in Mexico City is 7,349 feet. So that is... So while Denver is the mile-high city, Mexico City is about, elevation-wise, a half a mile higher than Denver, Colorado.
Remind me if you just said this, but according to Google, when I looked up Alfredo Harp Helú Stadium elevation, they said the elevation is 7,349 feet above sea level.
Yep, that's exactly what I just said.
Okay, cool. I was trying to look it up and didn't focus. My bad.
Yep. So that put it about... So really, as far as you seeing dinger after dinger after dinger, the air in Mexico City compared to, say, Coors Field is thinner because they are elevated higher. I mean, granted, we're giving a basic, simple physics wind resistance lesson,
Yeah, and
But
literally it's like a mile high for Coors Field,
yeah,
5,200
yeah,
feet.
mile high for Coors Field. This field was played at a mile and a half high.
You could say they're the mile and a half high club.
You realize that did not necessarily come with like a very great connotation, right?
Never mind.
That I guess we leave the bad jokes to Ruckus.
I
All
mean,
right.
that's in my name.
Oh my. All right. Now we get right into the NBA playoff. In the East, the series that are going on, we have the Boston Celtics and Philadelphia 76ers, who are currently tied at 2 games apiece, and with the series going back to Boston for Game 5 tomorrow. The Suns and Nuggets also return to Denver, the Mile High City, for Game 5, also tied at 2. Tonight's matchups, we have the Knicks and the Heat, who are in Game 4 right now, with Miami currently leading by 6 with about 4 minutes to go. And the Warriors and Lakers for Game 4. And the Lakers leading the series 2 games to 1. That series, or that Game 4, will be on at 10 o'clock tonight. Or at least 10 o'clock for the time that we are actually watching this whole thing, or listening, or recording this podcast, I should say.
I threw
And
Spinnis off.
well, I was trying to word it a certain way.
No, you're good.
So, for the NHL playoffs, in the Eastern Conference, the Carolina Hurricanes lead after Game 3, 2-1 to the New Jersey Devils. The Devils picking up the first win at home. The Florida Panthers lead the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-0 after taking a 3-2 overtime win last night. The Seattle Kraken lead the Dallas Stars 2-1 after 3 games in the semifinal of the West. And the other matchup in the West that is currently going on in Game 3, currently in the second period, the Vegas Golden Knights are leading the Edmonton Oilers 2-1. And that series is currently tied at 1. Also in NBA news, Mike Budenholzer has been fired by the Bucks after pretty much not getting very deep into the playoffs, and of course 2 years after winning an NBA championship. So my question to you here, Ruckus, is this a good firing, or going to be bad, as Giannis had pretty much thrived under the Coach Bud system?
Um, I think it boils down to just what the front office wanted to do, because maybe they really did want to keep him, but at the same time, maybe someone in the higher ups wanted him gone because they didn't see the change that was coming for the organization in the time that they wanted it. Obviously, they did win a championship a year or so ago, I would say, right? Or am I wrong? Or
Yeah, they
no?
won a couple of years ago when the Phoenix Suns were in the finals.
Right. And so I think they wanted more change, or they were probably expecting more from after the fact, and maybe that's why. But um, as far as my NBA knowledge, I'm not like I'm not gonna analyze it so much to where it's like, okay, was it the other coaches that were on the coaching staff that made him look bad, or was it just him in general that just wasn't getting the job done? Like, you never, at the end of the day, what happened what has transpired
Has
is
already
what's
happened.
yeah. So I mean, here's the deal, because like I was kind of not surprised with the Raptors head coach firing whenever they fired that man.
Nick Nurse.
Yeah,
Nick Nurse.
and
Who also, it was another few years removed after he had won a championship.
yeah, and Greg Popovich um hasn't really won a championship in a while, but also they're like those teams have just not been really staying healthy and or just produced all that much in compared to the past. They've gone through a lot of organizational changes too, but Greg Popovich is just well known as a really good coach to
Yeah,
build a team around.
and Budenholzer was under the Popovich system. So Budenholzer has thrived as an NBA head coach. I would not be surprised if you see a team here down the line pick him up and hire him.
Yep, there's always a door opening for those who just opened it or left it. Honestly, I think this if the Bucks have like a better plan versus Budenholzer as their head coach, maybe this will help them. But I think in the long run, it comes down to how the front office is doing things, because they're the ones with the money and the decision making.
Yep. All right. Now we get on to the Clint Eastwood segment: the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Give me 1 second. All right, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
He wasn't even ready. He had to take himself some time to get ready. What is this, Ruckus?
No,
On top
no, he wasn't ready. No. I was like, I was holding off to you to like switch between the broadcast stuff, and I didn't want you to be like, oh, I didn't hear the wah wah wah, and I'd be like, and then we go through this for like the 40 bajillionth time. We've been over this, Menace. We've been over this.
All right.
I'm just joking.
All right, so I'm going to kind of take over what was good in sports this week, and I'm going to take a little time for some hometown pride. I mean, Jawan Green had a pretty good season in the XFL. That's one thing. But the one thing that's really kind of taken a little bit more precedence has been athletes coming from Shepherd University. The first thing I'm going to go through is post-NFL draft, as 4 Shepherd University football players got priority free agent deals. But the 3 notable ones, I mean, we had one go to Baltimore with the last name of Walker, the receiver, tight end. But the 3 that really stuck out were Ronnie Brown, not the Miami Dolphins running back from way back when. This is a different Ronnie Brown. He got a priority free agent deal to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Joey Fisher, an offensive lineman for the Rams, has now gotten a priority free agent deal to go to the San Francisco 49ers. And the highlight and headliner of this, Tyson Bagent, who is also hometown Martinsburg, got a priority free agent deal to be with the Chicago Bears. So this will make things very, very interesting moving forward. But it is not just the NFL that got some Shepherd University love. Major League Baseball, with Brenton Doyle being called up to the show, has had a 3-hit game. He has a Topps Now card.
Topps Now card is nasty.
Oh, I love this Topps Now card. It's probably going to be a pet card for me for a couple of like fun things because I love using it. And he also got his first MLB home run the other day. But MLB The Show did a great job with doing Brenton Doyle justice. All right, and what has kind of been the not so good, the bad in sports this week?
Well, the bad in sports this week, which I found kind of hilarious but sad at the same time. The Cardinals move at catcher as of recently. Yes, you probably heard about like at the beginning of the season or even in the off season that Yair Molina was retiring after the 2022 season. Well, his counterpart that was supposed to like replace that talent, Will Wilson Contreras, that went from a Chicago Cub, also a World Series champion, might I add, to a contender across the not really across the pond, but like across uh
Across rivalry lines, because the Cardinals and
yeah.
Cubs are arch rivals.
And so he signed a 5-year deal, which I believe was $87 million during this offseason. And the reason why we have Wilson Contreras as a bad this week is because originally he was slotted to be a catcher, and now the Cardinals are slotting to use him as an outfielder or a designated hitter, which was not originally part of the plan. And I don't remember if Burleson was a catcher or it was like one of the backup catchers, but for some reason it's due to the fact that the command as far as pitching has not been good, and also the control with catchers has not been good. So that's probably why Contreras is playing the outfield. And they said it was going to be for a couple weeks, but I could see this going for the rest of the season that they really needed to. It's kind of a bizarre change, but I've seen weirder things happen. I mean, it's not unusual to see like a catcher go from catching to like outfield or pitching. I mean, is a designated or could become a catcher if he needed to, and he plays the outfield and sometimes the DH. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it says he's not being benched as sort of a disciplinary issue. It's like, no, he's caught all these games, but yet the Cardinals are in a worse place than they were with Yadier Molina. But is it really a Contreras issue? I mean, they were talking like, yeah, he was defensively bad, or not really doing defensively well. But if we remember this correctly, Wilson Contreras, I do not believe, was a defensive catcher.
I don't think so either. I think he was more of like an offensive man. He was pretty lethal back in the Cubs days, and he's done still a decent job as a Cardinal. But yeah. So the main thing to go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, he's not an RBI machine, but he has 119 career home runs, batting .257, and overall, his career RBIs, he has 379 RBIs. So he's not like the biggest home run hitting machine, but his career high in home runs is 24. And he did that in 2019.
Salvi has way more than that when it comes to career high.
He's not a slugging catcher. He's not a slugging catcher. He's kind of that catcher that is a little bit more of like just somebody steady.
Yeah.
Somebody steady. I mean, his fielding log he's kind of had. he's only committed 3 errors. Like, really only committed 3 errors.
Yeah. Yeah, so the TLDR, for those listening, with the bad this week, Contreras is being used as an outfielder instead of his main role that he was paid 5 years, $87 million for, which is supposed to be the catcher.
To be the golden goose, that was the
Yeah.
big shoes to fill in replacing Yadier Molina.
All right, do you want me to talk about the ugly this week?
Oh, the downright ugly this week involves a lawsuit. And it involves a notable doctor who has made very many surgeries. And that was Dr. James Andrews, who is now being sued by member of Bussin' with the Boys and 3-time Pro Bowl former Tennessee Titans offensive lineman Taylor Lewan over a botched ACL repair. I mean, if this is the only thing that James Andrews did not quite get correctly, he's still got a great track record for surgery.
Yeah, people make mistakes, but that's a big one. That could be that's obviously a career-ending thing if you can't get that right. But at the same time, everybody's body's different. Like, it's not all the same. So, who knows what
it's not
your
like
body
Derrick
could be
Rose. It's not like Derrick Rose sued.
Or, well, Mondesi wouldn't really be suing anybody. He's just made of paper bones. And and he's had surgery and shit like that.
What is it with you and hating on Alberto Mondesi?
Because the man, when he literally stands on the damn field, he breaks a leg. It's ridiculous. I've never seen anyone more injury prone than him besides Tatis. But Tatis, he does it to himself. Mondesi literally slides into a bag and breaks a hammy. I don't know how the man does it, but my god, this guy is frickin' prone to injury. I don't get it. And it's hard to explain, but as a Royals fan that has seen him since, I think, because he came into the scene in 2015 during the World Series, and he looked okay. We got a little preview there. But then, year after year after year, it was injury, injury, injury. Or it was a struggle to get something going. But mostly it was, oh, he tweaked a hammy or this or that. It gets old after a while, and people are saying, oh, he's like the budget Francisco Lindor. Well, if Francisco Lindor pulled a hammy and then was only playing for maybe 2 to 3 to 5 to maybe, hell, if you got lucky, maybe even double digits on playing him, would only play maybe 15 games out of a 162 game season, sure. But the only reason I say that Mondesi's paper bones is he's literally on the IL all the damn time, and it's mostly through the whole season, and you don't know whether he's coming back or not. It's a whole swing. And that's why I do it. That's my rebuttal, or not really my rebuttal. That's just my 2 cents on why I make fun of Mondesi the way I do.
Yep. All right. We ready to go to the high heat?
Hell yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the high heat, we are recapping the first round for sure of the NFL draft, and a little bit of the early second round, as some players that we thought would have been a lot higher in the draft kind of slid. But the top overall pick, the first overall, number 1, was Bryce Young, to the Carolina Panthers. And then the Texans taking Will Anderson, trading up to 3 after drafting C.J. Stroud. So kind of those first 3 picks. What are we thinking here, Ruckus?
I think... Sorry, go ahead.
Do we feel that the Carolina Panthers and the Houston Texans got it right?
As far as the Panthers, we don't really know how that's gonna translate. Because yes, technically, because I don't even remember who they signed for the Panthers. Maybe it was as far as like a veteran presence for a quarterback. But Bryce Young is, if he during training camp shines, and then the team's like okay with start him. When it comes to players that go from straight from college to NFL and then do their first start like right after being drafted or whatever after training camp, um, that's a huge leap forward when it comes to difficulty. And especially, I don't know how well the offensive line is for the Panthers, but I think Bryce Young's gonna have some big shoes to fill. Yes, they had Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold and PJ Walker, and maybe now PJ Walker moved on, or who knows. But I think it's going to be a long season for Bryce Young if he can't translate to the NFL like he did with college. And he's also about the same. Wouldn't you say he's like about the same height wise as like Kyler Murray, or would you say
He,
he's
he's he's a shorter quarterback like Kyler Murray. Shorter than Drew Brees, but kind of around the same height of a Kyler Murray.
and I honestly just don't see it being like, I mean, they they pretty much kind of solved a hole that was let uh to rest whenever they got rid of Baker Mayfield, and they are having their woes with Sam Darnold and what have you. But we'll have to see, because if you think about it, um this is gonna be a long process anyway, so we'll see what happens. As
Yeah,
far
yeah.
as the
Bryce Young
sex,
is 5'10", 204.
okay. What's the
Meanwhile,
height
C.J.
of
Stroud is 6'3", 214.
Kyler?
Kyler Murray? I think Kyler Murray's about 5'9", 5'10".
Um, as far as the Texans picks, though, the CJ Stroud one is a good one. I think they really solidified themselves. Like, yes, you could have kept going with Davis Mills and doing the Kyle Allen trade offs, I guess, right? Because weren't they both trading off at times?
Yeah, it was Davis Mills and Kyle Allen, yes.
Yeah. So it kind of gives you another weapon if you decided, hey, let's let CJ Stroud get shadowed by veteran presence. But honestly, I think Stroud starts kind of like how Bryce Young will probably start at the beginning of the season. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if they have him redshirt for a year. We will just have to see what happens and see how that QB room goes. The Will Anderson trade up was a bit of a surprise. I was glad to see that the Texans were taking some steps to bolster not only their offense but their defense as well. And yeah, how do you feel about the Texans right now?
I think the Texans were trying to pull something very much from a model like the New York Jets last year, where the Jets ended up with two thriving rookies that were right there in the hunt for Rookie of the Year candidates. Now that we now go through picks 4 through 8, where we had Anthony Richardson end up with the Indianapolis Colts, Devin Witherspoon to the Seattle Seahawks, Paris Johnson to the Cardinals, Tyree Wilson to the Raiders, and Bijan Robinson to the Falcons. Any surprises there that you see?
Bijan Robert. Oh, the Georgia,
No, the Texas running back.
the Bijan Robinson one. Yeah. I thought so. They drafted Algier last season, right? The Falcons did.
Yeah, I think they had Algier. They had Cordell Patterson, but Arthur Smith has been a very power run type of coach.
Yeah. I think as far as getting a running back in the first round, which is kind of like a no-go. It's kind of like saying don't take a quarterback in the first round of fantasy baseball, or not baseball, fantasy football. My mind is on fantasy baseball. That's why I said baseball.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think the Bijan Robinson thing might be a bust early because running backs you don't know if they're going to translate, and obviously I'm gonna put Clyde Edwards-Helaire under the bus on this one because he was a late first round pick for in 2019 to 2020 NFL draft. Um, and obviously he was not a red zone threat, but he would still help you in short yardage situations. But yeah, I feel like B. John Robinson's gonna be the next Josh Jacobs, or at least maybe Le'Veon Bell. Like the way he runs is like he runs like a freaking tank and he runs fast. I wouldn't say he's like Pacheco, but uh, I it just reminds me of like,
Pacheco just runs angry. Like he
and
runs angry.
and he just wants to rock like Lil Uzi Vert. He does the dance pretty well, good too. And I also heard that speaking of Pacheco, he underwent some leg surgery, and he suffered a broken hand during the AFC title game. I didn't even realize that, or maybe I just forgot about it because I thought I heard something about it on Twitter whenever that was still like high in the news category there.
Yep.
Anyways, let's. Are
The
we
next
ready
few
to?
picks here, the first bit of college love, Georgia Bulldog defenders going to the Eagles as Jalen Carter joins a cast of about 5 others involving Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean. They eventually grabbed another pass rusher, and they eventually traded for DeAndre Swift, as now the Eagles will have 6 Georgia Bulldog players. Jalen Carter, kind of known for having that racing charge going into the draft, but going to the Eagles may have been the best spot for him. But then after that, the beef becomes drafted heading into picks 10 through 15, as 3 out of those 6 picks were offensive linemen. Darnell Wright, Peter Skoronski, and Broderick Jones. Broderick Jones going to Pittsburgh, Skoronski to Tennessee, and the Bears trading down to get Darnell Wright.
I think
And
this really
Detroit-
helps them as far as the Eagles go. I think their Georgia Bulldog defenders really benefits them as far as the people they recently lost due to free agency. And going young is always a good sign too, as far as
they grabbed Keely Ringo as well later in the draft as well. So that was the other notable, other than on the pass rush. A few things that kind of baffled me in this stretch of picks that we're talking about. Jahmyr Gibbs going 12th overall to the Lions. I mean, they eventually traded away DeAndre Swift, but this was just a horrible handling of the backfield in this situation. You lose Jamal Williams, now you've traded away Swift. What do you have at running back now?
David Montgomery. You signed a big contract to David Montgomery after he was. I don't even remember if he was on a rookie contract or was just on a normal contract with the Bears.
He was with the Bears, and the Bears, he wasn't even that good.
Well, like, I was wondering if David Montgomery was a rookie whenever he was playing with the Bears. That's what. I didn't know if, like, this was his first big boy contract or what it was, but I think the Lions probably saw.
Handling.
Yeah.
It was horrible handling of the running back situation in Detroit. And I think that even though Detroit, I think, botched a lot in this draft, especially early. However, I think there are teams that I think did very well at this point. I was very impressed with Pittsburgh's pick. This was a guy who I would have loved to have seen go down to 16, where Washington could have taken him. But I think Washington also was very locked in on who they eventually did grab, where we will speak on this here a little later, as this is the next wave of players. The next wave of players after Witherspoon came off the board, the secondary became a notable piece in the very middle of the next round, going to pick 16 through 19, with Emmanuel Forbes and Christian Gonzalez going back to back 16-17. Forbes to the Commanders, Gonzalez to the Patriots. Jack Campbell becomes the first inside linebacker taken. And Khalija Cansey is taken by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Gonzalez slides, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in the color comment, more so on the Commander side of the equation. But do you think Gonzalez is a good fit in New England?
I mean, they lost what's his face? Jackson, the guy that signed to the Chargers last season. For some reason, his first name is slipping me, but I don't know if it was like Joe Jackson or. Let me look it up.
Was it J.C. Jackson?
Yes, that's who it was. Okay, that's why. So J.C. Jackson used to be a big part of their secondary, and so was Stephon Gilmore for the longest time before he got traded and then signed elsewhere, because he got traded from the Patriots to the Panthers a couple of seasons.
And then went from the Panthers to the Colts.
Correct. And now he's a Cowboy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I think this helps them as far as cornerback depth. I mean, you still have Miles Bryant from Washington, I believe, or from Washington College, not Washington like as in.
Yeah. I knew where you were going with that.
And like, I think this helps boost it, but we'll just have to see what happens. Because like, obviously, the Chiefs, with their cornerback and safety and linebacker help, they got that later on in like rounds 2 through 7, and I think we're slowly getting better with that. And then obviously we'll talk about our closeout here soon, but are we ready to talk about wide receivers?
Yeah, the next notable wave of things was wide receivers. The next 4 picks after that stretch, and we will also go into wide receivers and tight ends at this point, as Jackson Smith Jigba, JSN, went number 20 to Seattle. Quentin Johnston, 21 to San Diego. Zay Flowers at 22 to the Ravens. And Jordan Addison at 23 to the Vikings.
So that's gonna be a nasty 1-2 punch between Addison and JJ.
And Jay Jettas, yep, Justin Jefferson. The Giants went corner at 24 with Deontay Banks, and the Bills went 25 with Dalton Kincaid. What the big questions here? Which wide receiver out of JSN, Quentin Johnston, Zay Flowers, and Jordan Addison do you think landed in the best situation to make an immediate impact?
I think Quentin Johnston to the Chargers, because here's my thing on that. You have Keenan Allen, which is been injury prone for a while. He's getting old too. I mean, he's been getting old, let's be honest.
He been paper bones.
Yeah, he's the Adalberto Mondesi of the NFL. And then you have Mike Williams, which he freaking killed us as a weapon against the Chiefs, as you probably saw in that second game on Thursday Night Football. My lord, that man could not be stopped. And then you had crickets are going in my head because there's not a whole lot of good names I can recall off the top of my head, but you get my point. Johnston is in a good spot to add a little depth in the wide receiver room over in Los Angeles, and I think he's got a good spot. Zay Flowers could also be another candidate for that because I mean, he's going to be splitting time with Odell Beckham Jr. and some other guys. Yeah, it's gonna be. You're gonna have your running back of the future that's paid 5 years, $260 million.
And not getting the ball.
You know, it'd be really funny. I say this as a joke, but also I think it would be kind of a funny social experiment. What if all the receivers and tight ends just had their jersey names as Mark Andrews? That way they got the ball thrown to them.
I actually am gonna disagree.
Because he's not gonna throw to any of them.
Oh no! So I think I was disagreeing with your Quentin Johnston. I mean, Johnston's gonna have a great impact, but I think the immediate impact. I don't think it's going to be JSN. He's probably going to be the number 3.
I would say number 4 or 5 because they still have Tyler Lockett until they decide to trade him. They still have DK Metcalf. They still...
Yeah, that's why I said he's probably going to be the 3 at most.
I disagree with the 3. I would say he's at least 4 or 5 because he's still a rookie. But he might surprise.
Wait. Who are you factoring into what Seattle has that I am not? Is the question. Because at wide receiver,
you have DK Metcalf and Derek Young, from what it says, and then you have Tyler Lockett. Which, Derek Young, I don't know who the hell that is, but my point was, like, he's younger, but I don't know. It's a coin flip for me. That's all I'm saying.
The reason why I was saying the number 3 is that I think he could be better than Derek Young overall.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Jahan Dotson for the Commanders, where you have Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel on each side, but then you've got Jahan Dotson right there in the middle, right there in the slot. So
True.
I think that this could turn Tyler Lockett a little bit more into a slot guy, a possession slot guy, almost like a Wes Welker or a Julian Edelman. And then that moves JSN to the outside, where there's plenty of options. But my bigger impact is going to be the guy that's going to immediately probably go into the number 2 slot. And that is Jordan Addison to the Vikings.
And I forgot that Thielen is no longer a Viking, so that definitely helps his chances of getting more playing time as well, because him and JJ will be a really good fit together. And I think Aiden Hutchinson is still over there, right?
You mean TJ Hawkinson?
Yeah, TJ Hawkinson. My brain is so numb right now.
Aiden Hutchinson is an edge rusher for the Detroit Lions.
I mean, they were teammates for a brief time.
A brief few weeks.
But that is no excuse for my stupidity. You. Oh well, that's why my name is Ruckus on this podcast. I have an excuse to be stupid. No, I'm just kidding.
Yep. But then the other interesting pick was Buffalo going with Dalton Kincaid.
Are you
because
sure it was Buffalo? Oh yeah, I remember. Never mind.
Yeah, Buffalo traded up. I believe Buffalo traded up for him.
I think that's a good move because that way you don't have so much pressure on Knox. And also, I don't know how well Kincaid is at blocking, but maybe they use Knox more as like a blocking tight end. Who
I
knows?
mean, Dawson Knox is already the number one, but Kincaid can be a very complimentary option, and he's a versatile tight end.
He was one of my favorite tight ends in the draft, besides Darnell Washington. When I saw the film for Darnell Washington, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be the next Gronk," because this guy's a freaking tank compared to Kincaid. Kincaid was more of like the Travis Kelce esque tight end when it came to like catching the ball and being like a guy that could get like the spectacular catch for you. Whereas
The
Darnell
NFL,
is more like the running and blocking tight end.
well, the NFL comp they gave for Kincaid was Zach Ertz, which is something. Jordan Addison they gave the comp of Keenan Allen. Quentin Johnson they gave the comp of T. Higgins. JSN, CD Lamb, Zay Flowers, Elijah Moore. So I mean they kind of nailed these right on the head.
Do we want
Nolan
to
Smith
close
was
it
that
out, the first round?
well, and really those other notable pick, and really I don't see very many notable picks other than obviously that Nolan Smith pick for Philadelphia. I mean, but Brian Bree. I mean, you got Brian Brees. I mean, just a lot of linemen to kind of close out.
Yeah. The one thing for me for the Chiefs was Felix DK Uzama, the 31st overall to close out the night. I thought that was a good one. Part of me felt like they were going to surprise everybody by literally trade for a wide receiver or at least go for DeAndre, but it turns out that did not happen. Um, can I go back to my point on Mondesi really quick as far as injury history, or do we want to wait?
I think that ship kind of sailed unless we were really going into somebody paper. But
I mean, it started in 2018 and then it just went onward.
that was beside the point.
Yeah. Anyways, round two, or are we?
But kind of a couple of those early picks in the second round that really stuck out. And really, it was more so the first four picks. You had Joey Porter Jr. going to where his father played in Pittsburgh. Will Levis not having to wait long in the second round as he slipped to 33, going to the Tennessee Titans, who have drafted the quarterback for the second straight year. The Lions pick up Sam Laporta, another Iowa tight end that basically that tight end university that Iowa has become. And the Golden Domer tight end that is compared to TJ Hawkinson and Michael Mayer went to the Raiders. And then Quan Martin going to the Commanders. So I really see that I see that a lot of the second round, like a lot of the later rounds just ended up being teams finding like certain complements
Mm-hmm.
to go along, but I think normally the first round is where they generally solidify direction.
Yeah. All right, are we ready for the color commentary?
Yep. The color commentary. This week it is big deal, little deal, or nothing burger.
Straight up nothing. That was my compromise, but yeah, nothing burger is a good one too. All right. So the first one that we have is Lamar Jackson's extension that makes him the highest paid quarterback. Since it used to be Jalen Hurts for a week, and now it's Lamar Jackson, and he got this done without an agent, I believe, too, right?
I believe so.
I think this is a big deal for the organization for the Ravens, because not only did you solidify pretty much who's your quarterback slash running back, I think it also brings a little bit of job security for Lamar Jackson as well, because now you know that he's going to stay in Baltimore until something drastic happens. Um, Also, I think it's a little. I feel like it shows more maturity also for Lamar Jackson, because originally, uh, it was the Ravens did not really want to negotiate with him because he didn't have an agent, and the fact that Lamar was able to do this without an agent kind of probably shows more so of how he was probably trying to handle it in a mature way, but also he was doing it in a smart way, because I think for the most part, like everyone was saying on draft day, that it was like a 3% cut of whatever your earnings were for a contract with an agent was like 3%, so like about $3 to $7 million would have gone to Lamar Jackson's notable agent if he had one, right?
Yeah.
So like there's that. Yeah, I think it's a good. I think it's a big deal in a good way.
I think it's not as big a deal as what we think. I almost am to the point of saying that this is a nothing burger. And here's why. Because Lamar Jackson, the only team that was even going to take any type of flyer with him was the Baltimore Ravens.
I mean, that's true too.
This is not a big deal for players to bet on themselves. This is a big deal for the market ahead of Lamar. But I think this is a nothing burger because the reason why the market got this bad was because of a certain flop that tried to do too many rub and tugs for his own good.
Mm.
That's the only reason why the market got this bad. So I am going to say that this is as far as for Lamar Jackson and where his future was going to end up, this is a nothing burger. Because this was the only team that was going to take that chance.
That we knew of, yeah.
However, for the quarterback market, this is a little deal. Like, this kind of takes, like, multiple facets. Like, for certain things, it's a nothing burger. For more things, it's a nothing burger. For certain things, it's a little deal as far as the quarterback market ahead. That's kind of my perspective on it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next one.
The Commanders in the draft going for their guy and taking Emmanuel Forbes over the one that the combine result said was a little better with Christian Gonzalez. Is this a big deal, little deal, or nothing burger?
Honestly, since I didn't really invest time into thinking about Emmanuel Forbes with the Commanders, I'm gonna say this is a nothing burger for me. I mean, you have more insight on it since you're a Commanders fan, and to be honest, they probably I don't is Emmanuel Forbes like a linebacker, or who is he?
No, he's a corner.
Okay, so is it due to like his height is the problem with Forbes compared to Gonzalez, or was it?
Weight
Oh,
is the issue. Weight is the issue because he's only 166 pounds. But comparatively to Gonzalez, Forbes showed in film that he was more of a playmaker.
I think
But
they really needed that though, as far as the Commanders, because they didn't really have as much playmaking ability in their defense when it came to like the back end, in my opinion. Whenever I saw them,
oh yeah, because the first two picks were DBs that were playmakers who could do things.
I'm gonna say this is a little deal for me.
I'm gonna say a little deal. I'm gonna say a little deal as well. It's as far as like trying to bulk him up, it's a bigger deal. But as far as like taking their guy, the guy that we wanted, knowing that he would be there, and kind of the confidence that also we had in taking Jahan Dotson.
Hmm. Yeah, Dotson was a
I
good pick.
I I think we still trust the process with what Ron Rivera is trying to do in drafting.
Yeah,
What Ron Rivera, Mayhew, and stuff like that are drafting, because it's not like they're drafting complete flops. I mean, Jahan Dotson had an injury, but he was playing great.
yeah.
Brian Robinson had an unfortunate event where he got shot in the leg.
But he came back strong. He kicked ass.
But he came back and played well. Antonio Gibson, a solid draft pick. Terry McLaurin, probably one of the greatest draft picks Washington has had in the last 5 years.
There's a reason why they call him Scary Terry.
I mean, we're getting a lot. It's a longer process than what people think it is to right the ship. And sometimes you have to do exactly what a Josh Harris team did for years and trust the process.
Yeah. All right. Let's go. Let's kind of hop gears really quick with these last three. The Carlos Rodon back issues. He recently went down and said that he was getting cortisol from the health and training staff of the New York Yankees, but there's no timetable on when he would return.
I think that this in terms of like the health of the Yankees in terms of the division, for me being an anti-Yankees person, this normally would be considered a nothing burger. But I think for those that care about the Yankees, love their Yankees, this really, as far as health for their team, this can be, and more than likely for them, is a big deal.
Especially because he just signed that contract last offseason, and I don't know if that was like the original injury proneness that he had before he stood out with the White Sox a couple years back, and then
and the Giants,
right. I didn't know if it was his arm that was the issue before the back, but this whole thing being added to it, which he was supposed to be their like top 3 starter out of Garrett Cole and Nasty Nestor Cortez.
And then you have, I mean, this is kind of like the same thing that people were speculating about with Mike Trout.
True. Yeah, I don't know. I think this one's a one of those time will tell things. I think it's definitely a big deal though, since he just signed that big contract with the Yankees. Next one on the list, Big Cat Homer celebration being banned due to New Era. I also added a note saying being banned due to Karens from New Era, because I think this is a stupid ban, because the Big Hat was originally probably viral with the NFL, right?
MLB pulled the plug, which
Okay.
was...
MLB, Rob Manfred, if you're listening to this, the NFL did it better, so quit being jealous. I'm gonna say this is a nothing burger, by the way, but I just think it's stupid that they did it.
I mean, baseball is supposed to be fun, but also at the same time, I mean, the NFL has contracts for a reason with these endorsement things. So I could see why the big hats, especially from these big hat companies, and dealing with that can be an issue, especially because of the teams involved.
Well, the NFL doesn't really have like a big contract deal, like specifically on big hats, right?
No, they don't, because their hats are also New Era.
So it shouldn't really be that big of a deal.
Brian Robinson had the issue. It really is not a big deal. It really is not a big deal. I'm sure the Braves find some sort of different celebration as well.
I mean, they had the chop. They were doing the chop whenever they swept the Royals. I could hear them over the rest of the crowd. You could hear them doing the.
That's a fan rallying cry. We're talking dugout home run celebration.
Yeah.
I mean, the Orioles have their stuff involving water with the dinger shoot.
And then the Angels had the samurai mask, I think,
the samurai
right?
The samurai helmet. Yep.
But yeah.
So there are teams that have a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah, I just think it's dumb that the MLB banned that. Anyways, last one, but not least. Well, I guess in this case it's least. The Cardinals in last place due to rough beginnings. I think this is. Go ahead.
I'm thinking that this is a little deal. I mean, there's plenty of baseball left.
Correct.
But
sorry.
You gotta have time for some of these players that are kind of maybe slumping after a World Baseball Classic hangover. That has kind of lasted a little longer than it should.
I think it comes down to your talent as well. They've been kind of hit or miss as far as talent-wise goes. I mean, granted, they have Paul Goldschmidt, you have Nolan Arenado, you've got
Tommy Edman and Tyler O'Neill and Wilson Contreras.
Yes.
You've got plenty of talent there. You've got plenty of talent in the pitching rotation.
Arenado's been slipping. Goldschmidt's been doing okay. Lars Nootbaar has been a weird equation piece that has come up. You have Brendan Donovan, which has been more of a utility guy. You have Tommy Edman, like you were just saying. Go ahead. Sorry.
You've got plenty of options to go to. It's just these options right now are not performing well and are having an off season.
I mean, it's still better than what the Royals are doing, which is like across the border there in Missouri.
Yeah.
But whew. I mean, I think this is a little deal, and they'll probably turn it around. I mean, we've seen crazier things happen. We've seen the Nationals go from like near last place, near like the halfway. Yeah, like that shit was insane. Thinking about that, and they were the 2019 World Champs, just like you said.
Yep.
We'll just have to see what happens. All right, prime time.
All right, our primetime game this week. Last time we were here, we did an draft bust. This time we are doing a mind melt NFL quarterback edition. So, for example, so to say, and we're going to use your Chiefs as an example here. So basically, name an NFL quarterback that is associated with the Kansas City Chiefs. So pretty much we would both end up saying Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Or Patrick LeVon Mahomes.
Or Patrick, yeah, pretty much just Patrick Mahomes. Second. All right. So the first one that we are going to do here, name a quarterback associated with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Are we counting down?
Yep. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Donovan McNabb.
Jalen Hurts.
Went with the current one. And I just had Donovan McNabb synonymous, or just personified as a.
Could have also done Nick Foles.
That also is true. I went McNabb because I kind of went like, who clearly was an Eagles great.
Or you could do Gardner Minshew.
I think For me, it probably would have been a Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
A quarterback synonymous with the San Francisco 49ers.
5,
4,
4, 3,
3,
2,
2,
1.
1.
Jimmy G.
Joe Montana. Wow. Am I going too old as far as quarterbacks?
No, you're fine. I didn't know what our age group was, and I was thinking more so just in general.
Like you're thinking like more so you're looking at modern quarterbacks, while I've kind of gone back into yeah, this person clearly, if you know this person, he is for being a San Francisco 49er.
Yeah.
Though
It's
he
all
played
good.
though he played elsewhere.
Yep, he
These
played
quarterbacks
originally
are
for the
heart and soul.
Patriots.
Yep, for heart and soul of the team. Name a quarterback synonymous with the Indianapolis Colts. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning.
Yep, I think we both had Peyton Manning on that one, but that one was an easier one.
So, are we just naming pretty much like quarterbacks that played for a team instead of a draft bust? Because I got really confused.
Right. Yes. Yeah, it's basically your mind melt. Like the goal is to try and match what I'm going with here.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of like what we just did. Name a quarterback synonymous with the New Orleans Saints. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drew Brees.
Same. Drew Brees.
Yep. All right. Name a quarterback synonymous with the Atlanta Falcons. 5,
4, 3, 2, 1. Matt Ryan.
We're getting this now. But now this gets a little tricky. We're now going to go to the Packers.
5, 4, 3, 2,
1.
Brett Favre.
I actually was going to have Brett Favre. I actually went Brett Favre. But now for some of these other ones that we clearly had, because we're now just going to go right into stud dud and try and wrap up. If you would have had if I would have said Miami, where would
I would have said Dan Marino.
Yep, I had Marino. The Jacksonville Jaguars.
I would have to say Blake Bortles or
that one would have been tricky. I think you probably would have landed on Trevor Lawrence, but I probably would have said Byron Leftwich.
I probably would have either been like Nick Foles as well, because Nick Foles also played and he was the one that got overpaid.
I think the Bears would have been tricky. I think Bears would have been
Jay
tricky.
Cutler could have also done.
I would have went older. I would have went probably too old, because I would have said Jim McMahon.
For the Steelers, I probably would have put Teddy Bridgewater or Terry Bridgewater.
No Big Ben.
I mean, Big Ben, sure. Before
no Big Ben, no Terry Bradshaw.
That's why I meant Terry Bradshaw. My bad.
I probably would have ended up on Big Ben, but the Giants, I would have probably landed on Eli Manning. Though Phil Simms would have also been a thought. Kind of worked out that we decided to do NFL quarterbacks that way.
Yep.
And now we go right into the stud and dud of the week, or at least the last 2 weeks. Take it away, Ruckus.
All right, so my stud for this week, for episode 53 of Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast, I have former Royals pitcher Jeremy Guthrie doing the snow globe play during a pitch for the Savannah Bananas. As he was wearing a Chiefs helmet too whenever he did it, and they were all like doing the snow globe thing, and then he went for the pitch. And then my dud for this week is more so is just, in my opinion, a dud, is the DeAndre Hopkins trade rumors. Because for 1 to 2 months, for a period there, it was nonstop, not only Aaron Rodgers talk, but there was also DeAndre Hopkins trade rumors, as the Cardinals are looking to rebuild, and the contract of DeAndre Hopkins is a very steep one for the amount of effort he has put into the season. Granted, he had the 6-game suspension for the PEDs, and then later on started having injury issues. But he's 30 years old, and he's on the kind of decline of his career, it seems. He still hasn't been traded, and according to Twitter, he voiced that he was not looking to get traded, even though there were rumors about it. So he kind of shut those trade rumors down, so that's why I call it a dud. All right, Bennis, what do you got for us?
I'm gonna start with my dud, as it was the most recent thing. The handling of a situation between Nikola Jokic and Suns owner Matt Ishiba that resulted in the Joker getting teed up but no suspension. As the ball goes out of bounds, Ishiba has the ball. Joker's trying to get it back, but it should have been thrown to a ref. Joker shoves him. Ref tees him up. I mean, it was a little dicey of a situation, and it was a situation where Nikola Jokic kind of put himself at risk.
Yeah.
Which, in a playoff situation, you just don't do that.
He was just joking around.
My honorable mention for stud this week: a Cowboy scout calls his own son to say that they have selected him. That was probably one of those things where I watched that clip, and it was one where it's like, where at the end of it's like, oh, it's like the "I'm not crying, you're crying" type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But my stud goes to Giannis Antetokounmpo. I put it in here as Greek Freak because there's no way I was going to type that, even though I know how to spell it. For his response to a reporter's "Is the season a failure?" question. He handled this in kind of saying where he referred to, it's like talking about a job and getting a raise. It's like, if you don't get it, is it a failure? No. Michael Jordan had all these times where he didn't win a championship. He called that a failure? No, there are no failures in sports. All these failures are kind of are just stepping stones for success. So I think he handled the question with such grace in a way that I wouldn't have been able to handle that much better. But I think
especially in that moment too.
Yeah,
like Patrick Mahomes has had rough moments like that in his career, and he handled it in a way where it's like in a professional manner, but also like stayed true. But when it comes to stuff like that, it's very rough to be like professional about that kind of thing, especially when you're in that moment and you're pissed off and you're just like, well, it didn't go our way, but you still gotta be calm and collected.
The only thing that kind of was a little shaky about it was like he was apologizing to the reporter for trying to make it too personal for him, but it's not like he was talking about something that was like it wouldn't have mattered. Like it wasn't.
I think he was just really anxious about the topic too.
Yeah, I mean, he was apologized for making it a for kind of bringing his own life into the reporters.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of like he was trying to use it as an illustration.
Yeah.
Which most of the time with that, it's like, oh, you're not like it's probably something international or culturally that's different.
Well,
That says
also, he didn't want to probably get canceled by some reporter, too, for saying something that might have offended somebody else.
yeah, but I don't think he would have. But I think that it also could have been something where it's just like, oh, that was probably like a good approach. But I think the reporter from that perspective kind of just, I don't think he took it personally.
I'm surprised you didn't go for his stud of a haircut, too, to add to the stud. Did you see that he got his haircut back to the rookie haircut?
I didn't see that, but it's not like that would have mattered.
I mean, he do be looking like a stud, though.
Just take us out.
And this is the part of the show where Spennis suffocates me with a pillow, and then we never hear from me ever again. So this is my last episode number 53 of Ruckus and The Menace. I'm Ruckus.
This is not the last episode. I'm Spennis the Menace.
Guys, call for help. Alright, this is the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast. I'm Ruckus.
Just finish it.
We'll see you guys later. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe for more future content for Ruckus and the Menace, and we will see you guys next week or next episode.
Deuces.